Thanks everyone for joining this session. Happy New Year, and I know everybody have a precious time, and I hope I can make work this next 1 hour. So first thing is I would suggest that please go on proptrailblazers.com, see Path2Code, and this URL can also be found on the website. Let me give you one second. Yeah, if you go on the path2code.com and go at the footer, you would see you can follow us on the YouTube where we will be posting videos. If you click on this link will open up you on toptrailblazers.com. Here we would be able to track the badges of all the participants who are joining this, and we have some surprising gift in next few sessions. So make sure that you just join this community and it will track your badges from today onwards. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and we also have a success community group here. If you click on that icon, it will redirect you on the success community and you can use your Salesforce. If you don't have a Salesforce login credential, that's fine. We will discuss today that how to create this credential. So that's all the first thing. Let's start with our episode 1. We are going to discuss basics, some data types, and the naming convention. My name is Jitendra Jha. I'm a senior technical architect. I'm also Salesforce MVP. I have around 23 Salesforce certifications. Few more to go. So agenda for today is, first we are going to see why do we need coding in Salesforce. What is the purpose? What are some conditions? Then we will talk about where to write a code, which is a developer console. We will also talk about our naming conventions, some data types, collections, and the most important topic from today I will say is pass by value and pass by reference. That is the most important, I think, that we need to talk. At the end, I would suggest some trailhead modules. If you can finish those trailhead modules by the next episode, I think you would be in a good position to understand the next one. And then Q&A. Some house rules, please mute your mic if you're not speaking. Keep adding questions in Zoom. We have our team join here. I have Maria, Amit, Abhilasha, Jigar, and you can know more about our team if you go on the website. The team information is here, and they would be helping us on the question and answer. So keep posting your question on the chat window. Again, don't afraid of any question. If you are new to the Salesforce, or even if you are a Salesforce admin already and you are new to the development, none of the questions is small. We will try to answer all your questions, and we will try to have a last 15 to 20 minutes for the discussion. So the question always comes is, why do we need to learn a code? So the participants who have joined, it might be possible that you are very new to the Salesforce, or maybe you are an admin, you want to explore and fly in the sky, and maybe you have some New Year resolution. So why do we need to write a code in a Salesforce? And I will say the answer is, one size never fits all. Salesforce is a great platform, no doubt about it. Initially, it was just CRM, lead, account, contact, opportunity. Then it came S Control, Visual Force, Apex, Lightning Component, and all those stuff. If you are a Salesforce admin working on the ecosystem, you might already know how powerful Salesforce is. We do have a set of tools which does not require any coding. For an example, approval process, process builder, workflow, validation rule. Create a database table, also known as a custom object, just point and click. Nothing is required. And I will say most of the time that works. But like I said, every business or every customer, every partner, they have a unique problem. And it's not necessary that a Salesforce out of the box tool would always be able to help you. So there are some scenarios where you would need to write a code, some custom UI, and that is the reason I think it's always good to learn the code. if you are a Salesforce admin and if you don't know any programming language, that's fine, we will discuss here. If you're not a Salesforce user, but let's say you already have an experience with either Java, C# or the JavaScript, that would be advantage for you, because most of the syntax would be used here. You will just need to learn a little bit about the product. So this session is for everyone. One thing about the Salesforce, like I said, it's an API first platform. So that means is anything which is available from the UI, not anything, most of the things which is available on the UI, you can interact with those features outside the Salesforce. Using integration, using middleware, or even using Apex. So that's the important to understand how flexible and how I will say easy to expand and scalable the Salesforce platform itself is. So let's see. But before going, we have to understand with the great power comes the great responsibility. If you're talking about writing a code, that means you are bypassing the standard feature UI and you are directly, if you are writing a trigger, I will explain again what is the trigger, but if someone already knows, you're directly talking about interacting with the databases. So you have to be very careful. What you're writing, you need to know. Just copy paste the code from some forum would not be much helpful. So when to use code and when to use out of the box functionality is very important. And before starting, these are some of the best practices which I would always suggest. So even a technical architect, these are the few principles which I always follow. So number one, write as less code as possible in the Salesforce. Salesforce is a great platform, like I said, right? But the advantage of using out of the box functionality is all those rich tool sets and the configuration was already tested by Salesforce, it's maintained by Salesforce, and it upgraded 3 times in a year. So you will always get those advantages, okay? Code should always be a last option. Try to think about your problem, can that be solved using a workflow rule, process builder, approval process. So these are some set of the rule. We might touch few of these in the next 25 weeks, but our main agenda is to touch base on the coding itself. So the question, how do we start Salesforce coding? How do we start? If you are coming from the non-Salesforce background, do we have to install anything? So the answer is no. Everything can be done on the browser based. Even if you have a Chromebook, you can easily use a Salesforce. I am going to share this slide at the end. All you have to do is click here. It will bring up a sign up page. Just provide all your information. Username should be in the format of email, and within a 5 to 10 minutes, you will get brand new Salesforce all. That would be completely free, no cost, and you can start learning from there. So I just use the same platform. I use the same form. I submitted all my information, got an email, and I am logged into the Salesforce. So the first time you log into the Salesforce, this is how the Salesforce looks like. By default, you would be a system admin. And if you click on the wrench icon, gear icon at the top, you can see that setup menu will be there and the developer console. So these two options are important for us, setup and the developer console. Let's go back. So the question is, where do we write a code? So the code has to be written in the developer console. And in order to use the developer console, once you log into the Salesforce as a system admin, go on a setup, gear icon, and click on the developer console icon. So this is the user interface of the developer console. It's nothing but the IDE, web-based IDE. So if you are working from the Java background, you know Eclipse. If you are coming from the C#, you already know about Visual Studio. And everybody else, this is where we are going to write a code. So let's start with the first code. Don't focus about what is Apex class, what is a trigger. We have few sessions in the future, which we will go in the deep detail, what exactly are the Apex classes and everything. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm creating an Apex class saying episode 1. So that's simple. Salesforce has already created a class And if you don't like this theme, all you have to do is go on preference, click on the editor theme, and you can select any other theme which you want. Let me see. Normally I use this one. So this is the one theme you can use. There are some other themes you can use like an Eclipse, and I'm using the default one. If you want to increase the font size, all the informations are here. We will go a little bit slow on the what is the developer console and everything, but that's where we are going to write code today. So the first building block of writing a code is a variable. And you can think variable as a box. So like any box, it holds the data. Now the question is, how do we declare a variable? So variable always have a three things we have to consider while declaring a variable. One is, what is the data type? What kind of the data variable is going to hold? Is it a number? So in Salesforce, the code which we are writing is known as the Apex programming language, and the number is represented using integer. So you can say, okay, the type of the data is integer, and the name of the variable is count, and this count is going to hold a value 10. Same way, we can have some other variable, let's say employee name, ename, and its data type is going to be string. String is just like English word characters, and it is going to hold a name like John. So those are the variables. And the first thing which might come in your mind is, okay, how do I know what is the all supported data type by the Salesforce? So basically at high level, these are the different kind of the data types which Salesforce supports. So primitive data type, collections, enums, object and as object. We are going to cover object and as object in some future session, but just to give some insight, object is the parent of every class, every as object. So even if I have declared this class, even if I declare class episode 1, by default, the parent of the episode 1 is the object. Now, what is the meaning of parent? We will cover when the time comes up. And the database tables in the Salesforce, they are known as object. If you know the Excel sheet, the data, the worksheet, you can assume is an object. There are some standard objects provided by Salesforce in standard database tables. For an example, this is the menu. I am clicking on account. So this is kind of the database table. And like in the database, you can create a record. So in Salesforce world, we will not use the database or table. We are going to use the word objects, either standard or custom. Anything which Salesforce has already created is the standard object. So like if you see opportunities, lead, tasks, all these are created by Salesforce. I have not created anything. So all these are known as a standard object. So for an example, account is a standard object. I'm going to create a new account, and let's say account name is PathToCode. There are all other, just like all other columns in the table, you can either fill, there are all validation rules and everything. For an example, let me see if I can enter something. That's fine. So let's say if I use invalid phone number, try to save. Oops. So we can discuss about how to add the validation rules and everything. Again, you don't have to write any code or anything. Just remove this. So what just happened? Salesforce created a database record. And think about if you have to do something similar for the custom table. If you are coming from the Java or the .NET, you have to write a code to show this user interface. You have to write a code to click what should happen on the save button. We should create a database command, do the database connection, perform the database operation, close the connection. Nothing we have to do in the Salesforce. That is, Salesforce focuses on actual business logic, not the things, because creating a database table, UI, these are all the secondary. Whenever we are creating any project, the important thing is to address the business problem. That's where Salesforce exceeds the expectation. You spend less time on these basic stuff and you spend more time empowering the users. So we discussed a little bit about object as object. Let's talk about primitive data types. So these are some out of the box data type available by the Salesforce. So first data type is Boolean. It can have either true or false. Like date time, it can have date and the time zone. Date will have only date part without any time zone. Then we can have, if you want to store the number with the decimal after dot, so we have two options, either use a decimal or double. If you want to store the integer or the number without decimal, then we have two options. We can either use integer or long. And as you can see, if it's a small number that can accommodate within a 32-bit, it's always best practice to use integer. But if you're talking about a very large number, then we have to use a long. Then we already discussed that what is an object. It's a parent data type. Give me 1 minute. And string is nothing but the sequence of the characters, and the time is just the time. So I have provided some URL here. Let's say if I click on the date time, it opens the Salesforce documentation. Now Salesforce, like I said, releases 3 times in a year. So you will find that can someone confirm if I'm audible? My internet connection is still good.
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I think there is an issue in the website. We will come back here. So this is the official Salesforce documentation website. Apex Developer Guides. Okay, it's just loaded. So this is the date time class. Let me search data time. Okay, I will skip this. So the documentation, as you can see, there is every year Salesforce releases 3. So the current is 44. Spring 19 is going to come very soon, and we are talking about 44. So Salesforce documentation is the best place to know that what is supported and what is not, and it's very detailed, accurate. And if you find any issue on the documentation, go ahead on the Twitter at mention the Salesforce support, and they will fix the issue. So this documentation is pretty solid. It has some example if you want, even if you, so let's see, how do we run this code? Okay, so we are just talking about the code. So all you have to do is just copy this. And I go on the developer console, say Control E. Control E will open the anonymous window. You just copy paste whatever on the documentation and try to execute. Don't worry about the error or the log, what exactly happened. Let me show you. Assert. So this is how. If there is any error, runtime error or the compilation error, that's how the Salesforce developer console is going to give you an error. So what I'm trying to show here is you can go on the documentation, simply copy paste this code and try to understand what exactly is happening by executing it in the developer console anonymous window. So those all about the data type. Let's start with some basic just to show you how the data types and everything work. So we just created a class. It's always best practice to document the class, and you can document using this. There are multi-line comments, so you can comment something you don't want Salesforce to be mindful. You can say this is comment on next line. Salesforce will just take, it's just a simple English you can have. Salesforce will ignore everything. You can also have a single line comment, which is this one, and you can write anything which is helpful for anyone. One thing to note, I mean, in my personal opinion, writing a code is art. So just don't rush up on the writing a code. Everything should be proper, well intended. Like indentation is very important. Where you're writing code, what is the class name and all those. Just give a little bit time on that one, because I have seen myself sometimes whatever I write, I have to come back after 6 months and I'm even not able to understand my code, which I have written 6 months back. So at least not for others, for yourself, write a proper comment. So you can have any format. So I can say author is Jitendra Jha, and I can say date 2019. If you want, you can add some description. In order to save, all you have to do is control save, or you can go on file and you can click on the save. So all the shortcuts are here. So what I will do is I will just create one method. Don't worry about the syntax of the method. We are going to have a session on that, but just a crash course. Everything has to be either public or private. What that does mean, we will discuss. So I will be saying I'm going to create a method. Name of the method is demo of data type, and it is going to be, let's say, private, let's say public, and it is not going to return anything. So let's avoid. So just to give you an example, I am saying integer I equals to 10. I'm saying, let's say 2.2. I'm also saying, let's say string s equals to, or let's say string hello equals to hello. Now the question is, how do we print it on the console? Like if, so there is a method in Salesforce, which is a system.debug. For the Java developers, is similar to system.print, system.out.println, or for the C#, it's similar to console.println. So system.debug, I'm going to say, I'm going to pass a parameter. I'm going to print all these three together. So I'm saying, okay, let's print I, let's print D, and I'm saying, let's print hello. One thing, if you observe, at the end, you have to have a semicolon. That's how the Salesforce know that this line has been ended. One thing about the Salesforce is we have declared a variable as a small d. If I use, instead of small d, if I use the capital D, and let's try to save it. You see, there is no error. And that might be the surprising for some of you, but the Salesforce Apex is not case sensitive. Okay, so like Java is a case sensitive. In Java, small d and the capital D is completely different, but not in Apex. So, but just try to avoid this mistake. Try to make sure that you are having a same naming convention, or you have a same alphabet, same variable name. So now, how to execute this? So execution is again very easy. All we have to say is episode 1. This is again, so episode 1 is the custom data type. Okay, in other language, we just talk about what these are the some data types provided by the Salesforce. But what if you have to create your own data type? So in order to create your own data type, you can create a class like we have created episode 1. So if you see at the background, how we have declared integer I equals to 10. So I will say episode 1 as obj. But it's a little bit different. In order to declare this custom, you have to use a new keyword, and you have to say the class name. Episode 1. Now all we have to do is access. So we have to access this method. So let's try to access this method. To access the method, we have to do something like this. Now the problem is, if you see the Salesforce documentation, there are hundreds of methods. Let's, for an example, minute method. How the Salesforce will know where the minute exists? And it's very simple. Minute exists in the class date time. Same way, when we are writing a code, we are saying demo data type, we have to execute this method. But how would the Salesforce know where this method exists? So this method exists in episode 1. And the variable of episode 1 is obj. So we have to use the dot notation. Obj dot demo data type. So let's execute this. Before that, I'm going to clear my log panel. I have some debug log. So again, on the developer console, if there is any compiler error, you will see the problems here. I will show in some time. So let me first execute this. So I have executed, no error. Now, if you want to see the output, what happened with the output of I, D, or hello, I go on the log, double click on this log, and just click on the debug only. So if you click on the debug only, you can see that we have printed 10, 20.2 and hello world, exactly whatever the value. So that's how. Now let's try to generate some error. So I'm trying to save it. If you see the problem, I have the problem. It's saying on the line number 14 and 15, I have some issue. So that's how the compiler error would be reported. So that's all about the data type. If you already know about the Salesforce, right, you might already know about enum. So sorry, you might already know about the pick list value. Sometimes it happens, right, that you want to select season can only be, let's say, 3 seasons. So I'm going to say public season, let's say, is going to have only 3 seasons, which, and let's say it's a summer, it's a winter, and let's say it's a spring. If you are in the need of data type where the options are very restricted, just like a pick list value. In the pick list value, for an example, I am on here, I edit account. Now in the account, the rating can only be hot, warm, and the cold. I cannot select the 4th value. If you are in the need of data type similar to this, then the data type is enum. So how to declare the enum? You have to say public enum season, saying summer, winter, spring, and that's it. And if you want to print or want to access this, all you have to do is episode.season, let's say winter, or just W equals to season.winter. That's how you're saying. And again, you can print it from here, system.debug, and I will simply say W.
Winter I uppercase.
Sorry?
Winter I uppercase.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Thank you. No, it still says season not. Let me see if I can access like this. Let me check. 1 minute. So it is public enum season. Everything looks good. So that was my mistake. So what exactly I did is I forgot this one. So in order to access the enum, you can access like inner class if you know about that. So you have to use class name, not enum name, variable name, and initialize it. So I have already executed it once. So there is a one tag like log tab. If you see here, every time I execute anonymous, I go on the log tab, I double click here, click on the debug, and that's how you see it printed winter. So very simple thumb rule. Okay, if you are thinking about pick list kind of the data type, go ahead and use the enum. So that's all about the basic data type. Let's move on the next topic. And so we already used enum. I will skip that. Let's talk about the naming convention. Like I said, writing a code is like a craft. It's art, and you have to, I have seen a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues who write a fantastic code, and you have to write it by heart. Okay. So if you see in my example, right, if you observe my class name, I have started with the capital case. If you observe my method name, I started with the small case. But again, each word is capitalized. So demo, D small, data, D capital, type, T capital. And you can see small case, small case. If I want, I can write something like this. Nobody is going to create any issue, and Salesforce will allow me. Like I said, Salesforce is not the case sensitive, right? It's a case insensitive. So hello and hello same is the same, but again, it will make a confusion. So the question is, what is the right naming convention? Okay, how should you go ahead? And the right naming convention is, we have three types of the naming convention. One is Camel Case. So in Camel Case, the word in the middle is a capital. So if you, for an example, iPhone I is capital, sorry, I is small, but the P is capital. That's the Camel Case naming convention iPhone has used. eBay, E is small, B is capital. That's the Camel Case convention again they have used. And then season name, S is small and the name is capital. So where do you use the Camel Case? So the Camel Case should be used for variable name and method name. Okay, so that's all about the Camel Case. Example of the Camel Case is this: method name starts with small letter and everything capital. Integer ID, hello, these are all the example of the Camel Case. Okay, if you observed, episode E is capital and episode S is capital. So why I'm not following this? So just for your clarification, Camel Case should be for methods, or you can say functions, and the variable names. Again, there is no written book there. Okay, 100 of books and 100 of person will tell you different way, but normally this is what naming convention mostly followed in the industry. Now there is another naming convention. Let me go back, and which is known as a Pascal Case. Pascal Case, you can say again, it is same, but the same as the Camel Case, but it is also known as the upper Camel Case. That means it would be similar to whatever we did, but the only difference is first character will also be the capital. So episode is the Pascal Case, season is a Pascal Case. If I read something season name, this is again the Pascal Case. Either you say the Pascal Case or either you say the upper Camel Case. Now the Microsoft, if you are coming from the C# background, you might know that you have used a Pascal Case a lot. If you are coming from the Java background, you have used the Camel Case. Okay, so when do we use the Pascal Case? Or you can say upper Camel Case. The Pascal Case should be used for the class names or enum. Okay, enum data type. Then next, my favorite comes as a Hungarian notation. Now what that notation says is, it can also be declared as int a. Okay, or I can say int employee number. I can say double. I can use any convention here. I can say, let's say age. I can say str hello. Normally I follow this especially for the variables. Okay, and this is most widely used naming convention. And the advantage of this naming convention is the variable name itself will tell you what is the data type. So instead of using I, which is not the right good practice, you should use something like this. Instead of D, you should use something like this. And instead of str hello, you use this. Now the advantage of this naming convention is you don't have to, I mean, if you have a 200 lines of code and you want to say what is data type, you have to go at the top and you have to see, okay, its data type is string. But if you use the Hungarian notation, there and themselves, you will know that, okay, this is nothing but the string, it's a double, it's an int. So normally I use Hungarian notation for the variable name. Okay, I will say variable name. Can I save this? So please keep asking your question in the chat window. Our team, Maria, Jigar, Amit, Abhilasha, everybody on the chat. And any question which is unanswered, I will answer at the end of this session. Okay. Now again, this is the second most important topic today, which is a collection. So in order to become a good developer, it is very important to understand what is the collection data type. Collection is a nightmare, I will frankly say, if you are coming from the Java background or C#, because there are tons of options. You have hash map, you have hash set, you have hash tree, different kind of thing. Salesforce made it very easy. We have only 3 collection. So the collection is, so for an example here, let's say I have to store age of, let's say 20 employee. Okay, what should I do? Should I do something like this? Just an example. Age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I can declare something here, list, and that list should have all 5 values at the same time. So now what will happen is I don't have to remember all those variables and everything. Again, it will not make program your faster, but it will make it faster for the processing, which we will talk. But this is the advantage of having a collection. Instead of creating a multiple variables, if you can group them together as a list, then it would be great. That is the use case. So let's talk about list. List is also known as array in Salesforce. Okay, array you can declare like either array notation or the list notation, and element starts with the index 0. So let's say if I want to access 80 value, I have to use 0. If I have to use 34, even though its position is number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have to use index 4. So that is the important thing about the array. If you see this diagram carefully, you will see that number is repeating. I have 280, and that's completely fine. Okay. So what I will do is, let me create quickly a method here, which will make things a little bit easier. I am getting some compiler error, so I will just remove it. So what I will do is, I will create a method saying public void list demo, and I'm going to just declare the same integer number which we have seen. So I have declared a list. Now in the list, in the angle bracket, you have to say what is the list. What the list is going to, just like a data type. This list can contain number, it can contain decimal, it can also contain string, or maybe custom object, or maybe the class itself. But you have to tell to the Salesforce that, okay, this list is going to contain integer. Okay, there are multiple ways to do it. I'm initializing and I'm saying that, okay, I'm going to add all these numbers, or I can also use the list method saying list int dot add 89, as simple as. So what just happened is, after number 2, we have added number 89. If I want to print something, or if I have to retrieve the, let's say, first element, like I said, all I have to do is list of int, and I will say, okay, give me the number at 0. Okay, set. I have made a typo here. Okay, so let's execute this quickly. I will say execute it. I will go on the log. I already have 2 previous log, but this third log is unread. I will just double click here. As I have a lot of informations are here, right? I'm not really interested on those all those messages. Just click on this debug only checkbox, and you will say it successfully printed number 80, which is our first element. Now the question is, how do we iterate, or how should I go through every element here? Again, we are not going to cover loops today, but I'm just going to give you some glimpse here. Next session, we are going to talk about the expressions and the loops and everything. So just bear with me. One way to do is, I'm going to say in the for loop, loop is again a programming statement. I'm saying I'm going to declare a variable which is going to store the index. So if you see this diagram, I'm going to have a variable index which is going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, all these values. I will say index, and I will say condition would be true until. So the question is, what is the size of this? So there is a method name as a size. It will give me the total size. So I'm going to say, okay, iterate through the loop, and after every time it increases it by 1. Again, please ignore this for a while. We are going to cover in the next session, but that's how the loop looks like. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to use same, but here's the advantage. Why do we need a variable? Like, why do we need like this? So this is the best example of the need of variable. I really don't want to print 0 every time. Okay, I want to print through the iteration. So now what I'm doing is I'm using a variable index, which I just declared here. So this index is going to hold a value dynamically during the execution, and that's one of the best reason why do we need a variable in any code. And again, I made small typo. Wait. Variable, okay. I'm going to increment index by 1. So that's it. Let's go back on my anonymous window. All I have to do is click on execute. I go on the logs. I double click here. And as you can see, I click on the debug only, and all the informations are here. So same way, we just saw the list. Let's talk about the set. The difference between the list and the set is set can only contain the unique value. So just to give you a quick demo again, what will happen if I do something like this? Let me see. So I have created a set, and if you see, I have added 80 and 10 number 2 times. So basically I have added 4 number. Okay, now let's see how I'm going to iterate through it. Again, ignore the for loop. I have used one version of for loop here. I have used advanced for loop here, and which we are going to cover in the next session. Okay, so simply I'm going to do is I'm iterating through the every element in the set and trying to print it. Now, like I said, set is only going to have the unique value. If you see, this is my typo, 80 should not be here. Okay, so this is a typo on the slide. I go back here, and if I execute, so like how I'm doing, I'm using object name dot method name. Method name is a set demo, and I'm clicking on execute. Okay, I have not saved it. Let's see. And I'm going to clear the log. I already have 4 log. I'm not in need of those logs. So I can go on debug, clear, log panel. So everything is gone. I'm going to execute it now. My expectation. So here, list had the duplicate 80, 80, fine, but set cannot have the duplicates. And just to confirm that, I go on the debug only, and we see 80 and 10 only repeated 2 times. So that is very important difference between the collection of list and collection of set. Now what about map? So map is another data type, very important one. And how you do it is you have to have a key value. Key can be any variable, and value can be again any data type. So there are a lot of scenarios where we would end up using the map, but just to show you the demo on how the map works, I will again create one small method after set demo. And if you see, I have declared a map. I'm saying that just like set, I said that this is the set of integer. In the map, I have to see the data type of the key is integer, and it is going to hold string. So I'm going to say 1 is going to hold 1 as a value. 2 key is going to have a 2 as the value. So key value pair. And again, iterating is very simple. The iteration is a little bit different as compared to list and the set. You can iterate only on the basis of key. Value can be duplicate. Key cannot be duplicate. So like in set, everything has to be unique. In map, key has to be unique. Okay, and you can access value only if you know that. Just like any lock, you can open a lock only if you have a key. Same way, what I did is I got all my key and I know that the data type of key is integer. Once I get a key, I'm getting the value using this. So this is not going to print the key. This is going to print the value. So if you see, it is going to print string 1 and string 2, but not 1 or 2. So just to quickly see it, I will again execute from here. Okay, I have to save it. The same mistake. Okay. Execute. Again, this is my debug log. Debug only 1 and 2. So this is as simple as that. So we have covered map. Now this is the highest priority item, I will say, and this is very important to understand. What is the pass by value and pass by reference? Okay. So here, what I have done is I have created a very simple method saying that change integer a. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm changing the value of a from whatever the value to the value 20. What I'm doing here is I'm going to declare the variable integer a. I'm saying value as 10. And I'm saying change int. I'm saying change the value of a. So see what is going to happen. So I have declared a variable a, which is an integer value with 10. I call the method change int. This method is changing its value from 10 to value 20. And once my control comes back here, I'm going to say system dot debug. I'm saying I'm going to print a. So the question is, what is the value in the a? The value should be 20, right? Because I had 10, I passed it to the method got the 20, method got the 10, method changed it to 20. And once everything is done, I'm trying to print it. So let's see how it is going to happen. The question is, this a is going to print 10 or 20? Let's try to execute this. So I'm going on the debug only, and surprise, it is not printing 20. It is printing 10. So the question is, I have passed 10, okay? It changed to 20, but when the control came back, why it is still printing the old value? Okay, so let's go back on our slide. And this behavior just we witnessed, this behavior is known as pass by value. So you passed a, you changed the value of a, but that value has not been reflected. And the reason for that is pass by value. And how it works is, let's say you have a variable a, which is a 10. You have a method. When you call the method, it is not actually passing the variable. So this blue variable or blue circle is not passed. Rather, what Salesforce did is Salesforce copied the value to the new variable, okay, which is a local variable of that function. Variable change 20, agree. But if you see, this is the yellow variable, this is the blue variable. When the control came back, value was changed in the copy. Value was not changed on actual. And this behavior is known as a pass by value. And this behavior you will observe on any primitive data type. So when I say the primitive data type, basically, if you are passing integer, double, decimal, okay, what all other like, so those data types are going to be passed by value. So all primitive like integer, double, decimal are passed by value. We already saw that example. Okay. Now let's see another example. Now the question is, how do we resolve this problem? Now this is very easy. All you have to do is, if you are expecting 20, you have to say it is going to return a value as integer, and you have to add the return statement, return A. So now what we are saying is, it changed the value A, it returns something. I am saying whatever it returns, write it down in A. So if now I execute this, so now it is going to give me value 20. And that's how we handle the pass by value. Again, all the primitive data type or simplest shortcut, anything which is not using the new keyword is the pass by value. So the question is, what is the another behavior? So let's talk about this behavior. So like I said, account is the standard object. I am passing an account A, and I'm saying that I have changed account name. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to declare an account A with the keyword new. I'm saying new account, and I'm saying A dot name equals to PathToCode, and I'm saying obj dot change account. I have passed A system.debug A.name. So again, we are not returning anything. We had name as a PathToCode. We changed the name here. So as per the previous example, this should return, this should print PathToCode if we see the previous example. But see if that is happening or something else is happening and why it is happening. So if I click on execute method and I click here, and if I click on the debug only, if you see value actually changed. So if you see account in method, this is what we are getting in the print. So the behavior is not really same. So this behavior is different. Okay, this behavior is completely different. So this behavior is known as pass by value because of primitive data type. Primitive data type, or say simple data type. Simple data types like integer, decimal, double. And this behavior is known as pass by reference. And complex data type, which is class, string is also complex data type, date is complex data type, date time is complex data type, and all those, and S object. So this is a key. Whenever we are, so in this case we are not returning anything because there is no need, because whatever you pass, that's exactly working as it is. So this method, so how do we know, right? Pass by reference. So what exactly happened? We passed A itself is passed to the method this time, unlike in pass by value. In pass by value, it was the duplicate copy. This is exactly same information passed here. You change the value here. When the controls come back, this A becomes 20 because this is nothing but the same variable, which is the pass by reference. Okay, so very simple thumb rule, right? Or maybe this will help you. If it's a simple data type, integer, decimal, double, it's always going to be passed by value, and you have to return something to get the right answer. But if the complex data type, like apex class, string, date, date time, or anything which is using the new keyword, that is again another hint. If something is using the keyword new, that means it is always going to be passed by reference. Everybody else close your ear, but if someone from the programming background, maybe C, C++, if they know the pointer, it's the pointer. Internally, Salesforce is passing the pointer, that's passed by reference. Okay. So that's all. We discussed the example. So these are few of the resources. You can read about set, primitive data type, list, map. Hungarian notation, you can go here, you can read on the Wikipedia. This is very good information here. I would suggest finish this 3 trailhead module by next week. It will give you a good head start on whatever we discussed today. And now let's talk about question and answer. If you want, you can unmute your mic, or I will go through the chat window myself to see if there is any question we can discuss. Okay, so the question from Adrian, right? Which naming convention or notation I used always, right? So here, I always use these 3 naming convention at the same time. I always use Camel Case if I want to declare some variable, okay, complex one. I always use Pascal Case for the classes, okay. Sorry, I always use Camel Case for the function name, method name. I use Pascal Case for the class name, and I use Hungarian notation now mostly for the variable. So if you see in this example, right, here, see my naming convention. I have declared set by saying set in front. I have declared list by saying lst in the front. So this is nothing but a Hungarian notation. It's really very helpful for me to read my code myself. Okay. So answer is yes, all 3 notations should be used. For the function name, this, for the class name, Pascal Case, and for the variable name, Hungarian notation. So the 3 modules which we should complete is, let me show here. And if anyone have any problem in completing this trailhead module, let us know. If possible, join 10 minutes earlier next week, and we will discuss a little bit extra, which would not be recorded. Okay. And again, if you have joined a little bit late, please go ahead on this URL, trailblazer.com PathToCode, and register yourself here. So I already see Neeta, Maria, John already registered here. URL you can find at the bottom. Go on the website bottom, and if you click this URL, it will bring it to this page. Go at the bottom in the action, say join community, okay, and register yourself, so that we would be able to track your badges. And like I said, there are some surprise and gifts for anyone who is doing a proper trailhead badges and everything after these sessions. Any other question, anyone? Okay, awesome. So I would like to thank all of you. I hope you learned something new, even though you already know the Salesforce coding. Feel free to add your comment here on this website. So on this website, if you go, we have the episode 1. We will be posting recording here. We would be posting our presentation also here. Feel free to write your comments, any suggestion, what should we do for the future. If you want to retake some topic, just let us know. Yeah.
So Jitendra, I just see one question regarding the static variable in the chat window. So I'm just reading the question. So he's saying, like, another programmer had told me that most method used in Apex programming as a static as opposed to the, so he just want to know about the static variables and methods.
Sweet. So static variable we would be discussing, okay, don't worry. But here is a surprise for all of you guys. You know static variable, you know the static method. Do you know this? Hey there. Might be new for you. Maybe you are in the Salesforce programming for 3-4 years, but this is known as a static block. So this is something again new, and it is compiling, if you see. So try that. This is just a small kind of work, I will say, for you guys. We are going to cover the static also, static method, variable, and everything. But this is a static block, very interesting. Any other question, anyone? It compiled, okay, static block just compiled, okay. So most of people don't know about it, or maybe they are not using, but this is also a very good use case. Okay, thank you everyone. See you next week. Enjoy and Happy New Year again.